Whilst you may be aware that AI can do a lot of your work very quickly, very effectively, and in some cases to a higher standard, what you may not know is that AI can actually do things that you yourself couldn't do as an individual. So, for example, if you've got a huge spreadsheet full of data, hundreds of columns, thousands of rows, and you've got to analyze that information, you might be looking at that in very traditional ways, looking at pivot tables, creating tables and graphs, etc. Whereas actually, you can use AI, plug your spreadsheet into AI, and it will analyze the entire spreadsheet, but it will analyze it as a whole, and it will be able to draw conclusions, draw correlations that you would never have been able to identify yourself. So if you want to not just work faster, but you want to work smarter, then take a look at what AI can do for you in this next video.
Now, one of the main reasons that accountants and professionals use Excel is to calculate data and to summarize data and to make decisions based on that. And in this particular example, I've got just an overview of a made-up organization, and it's got a list of different products, a list of locations, different stores that it has within those locations, and a total amount of revenue, expenses, and profit generated by each of them. And also based on the season as well. So we have the spring, summer, winter, and fall here. So we can look at the quarters that sales were made. Now, again, as with a lot of things that GPT does in Excel, it's something you could, in theory, do yourself. And of course, you can do so. You've probably been doing it yourself for many, many years. But that's the point of ChatGPT, is that it is an assistant that helps you to do things far more quickly, far more efficiently. So what we might want to do if we were analyzing this information is we want some key takeaways, some key things that we can take to perhaps our managers or the directors or the partners, etc., and provide some information, to provide some advice. Maybe it's that tablets are selling really well. Maybe it's that printers aren't selling well at all. Maybe it's certain locations are doing really, really well in the summer, but not in the winter, whatever it may be. Now, of course, we could look through all this and troll through all this ourselves, but it's going to be quite difficult to just by our own eyesight pick out key trends and highlight where the business is doing well, where it isn't doing so well. So what you can actually do is we can just literally import this data into ChatGPT and ask it to analyze the information for us. Ask it to provide information, to provide feedback, and also to verify its own information and to draw conclusions from that information. So just going to switch over to GPT now. And you can see that I've inserted that spreadsheet, and I've just put, so I'm analyzing this data to provide feedback on company performance. Please provide 5 key takeaways from it. And you can see it's now imported all of that information. And it's going to analyze it all. It's going to look through all the data. And it's going to provide us with some key pieces of information. So we'll just wait for it to do that. Might take a while. Remember, it's got hundreds of lines, hundreds of cells to look through. It's telling us our total revenue, our total expenses, and our total profit. It's identified exactly which is the worst selling product in terms of profit and the best performing product in terms of profit. So the smartwatch is the highest selling one, the keyboard is the worst selling one. It also shows us that San Diego is the best location, Chicago is the worst performing location. Most revenue is generated in the summer, and that Next Gen Electronics is our most profitable store. So that's a lot of key bits of information there. What we can then do is we can actually ask it to provide recommendations based on this. So we might type in, based on this analysis, provide 5 key recommendations for the next year. And you can see that it is not only giving us recommendations, but it is justifying them as well. So it's saying we should double down on our best-selling products. So since the smartwatches are the highest profit, focus on maximizing sales of the smartwatch, maybe even implementing and introducing more premium versions of that smartwatch, further accessories for it to improve the average order value. Look at underperforming products such as our keyboards, like our supplier costs, the demand, whether we even discontinue them. So it's providing us actual advice on what we can do going forward. So what you might then do is, if you were analyzing this information, you'd of course need to double check it all, but you could then use this information to create a presentation, use it to create a financial report or business report, etc., and take that forward to your managers, to your partners, etc. And you see, we came up with all of this just from putting this into GPT. Looking at this, we might have had to have put our own graphs in place. We'd have to analyze it, use any kind of formulas and this, that, and the other. It'd take ages analyzing and sifting through all this data. And yet, in the touch of a button, really, we've highlighted 5 key issues. We've then provided recommendations on all of these. You could then go even further and say, could you ask how we would go about implementing these recommendations? And it's literally then giving us advice on how to maximize the profit, on how to track them as well, to track performance. All based on our spreadsheet data. So this is another great way of how you can use GPT to analyze information that you've got in Excel or in a Google Sheet, whatever it might be, and how you can ask it to analyze it. You can then ask it to make recommendations based on its analysis. You can then also ask it for the next steps to take the recommendations forward. And we could continually go back and ask it for more information. We could put more context about who we are as an organization, and based on that, and based on issues we've been having or risks that we have, how does that impact your recommendations, or how does it tailor your recommendations, etc. And we can just go on like that and very, very quickly have a really well-structured action plan in place for building on our business in the next year based on the information that it has processed.